Train your mind to stay unbothered and peaceful every single day, because the greatest battle you will ever fight is not outside of you. It is within you. You wake up into a world that is loud, chaotic, unpredictable, and sometimes unfair. People will misunderstand you, situations will test you, and life will not always go according to your plan. But the question is never what happens to you. The real question is what happens inside you when it does. You see, most people are not disturbed by events. They are disturbed by their interpretation of events. Your mind is like a garden. If you don't intentionally plant peace, weeds of anxiety, anger, and frustration will grow naturally. And many people today are living as prisoners of their own thoughts, reacting to everything, absorbing every opinion, and allowing every small inconvenience to steal their joy. But you were not created to be controlled by circumstances. You were designed with authority over your inner world. There is a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is automatic, emotional, and often destructive. Response is intentional, thoughtful, and powerful. When you train your mind, you create a gap between what happens and how you choose to respond. And in that gap lies your freedom. Think about it. Someone says something negative to you. If your mind is untrained, you react immediately. Your mood changes, your energy drops, and suddenly your entire day is affected. But when your mind is disciplined, you pause, you observe, you choose. You realize that not every opinion deserves your attention, not every comment deserves your reaction, and not every situation deserves your peace. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of control. Most people are trying to control the world, but the wise learn to control themselves. You cannot stop people from talking. You cannot stop challenges from coming. You cannot stop life from being unpredictable. But you can decide that your inner state will not be at the mercy of external chaos. Training your mind requires repetition. It requires awareness. It requires discipline. Because your mind has been conditioned for years, conditioned by fear, by past experiences, by societal expectations. So you don't change it overnight. You train it daily. You train it when you choose silence instead of unnecessary arguments. You train it when you refuse to overthink situations that don't deserve your energy. You train it when you let go of things you cannot control. You train it when you stop seeking validation from people who don't understand your value. And here is something you must understand deeply. Being unbothered is not weakness. It is strength under control. It is emotional maturity. It is the ability to say, I see what is happening, but I refuse to let it disturb my inner peace. There are people who will try to provoke you. There are situations designed to test your patience, but not everything requires your reaction. Sometimes your silence is your power. Sometimes your calmness is your victory. When your mind is untrained, everything feels personal. Every delay feels like a failure. Every criticism feels like an attack. Every challenge feels like the end. But when your mind is trained, you begin to see things differently. You understand that delays are part of the process, criticism is part of growth, and challenges are part of life. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this teaching me? That shift changes everything. Peaceful people are not those who have perfect lives. They are those who have mastered their internal reactions. They have decided that their peace is more valuable than winning arguments, proving points, or impressing others. And let's be honest, many people are exhausted not because life is hard, but because their mind is always busy. Always thinking, always worrying, always reacting. They carry yesterday's problems into today, and they bring tomorrow's fears into the present moment. They are never at rest. But peace comes when you learn to be present. Right here, right now. Right now you are breathing. Right now you are alive. Right now you have the power to choose your thoughts. And that is enough. You don't need to solve your entire life today. You don't need to control everything. You just need to control your mind in this moment. And when you begin to do that consistently, something powerful happens. You become stable. You become grounded. You become unshaken. Storms may come, but they don't move you. Opinions may come, but they don't define you. Challenges may come, but they don't break you. Because your peace is no longer dependent on what is happening around you. It is rooted in what you have built within you. And understand this clearly. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. necessary. You cannot give your best to the world if your mind is constantly disturbed. You cannot think clearly if your emotions are always in control. You cannot grow if you are always reacting. So, you must become intentional about what you allow into your mind. Not every conversation deserves your attention. Not every environment deserves your presence. Not every person deserves access to your energy. Guard your mind like it is your most valuable asset, because it is. Feed it with thoughts that strengthen you, not weaken you. Surround yourself with influences that uplift you, not drain you. And most importantly, speak to yourself with power, not doubt. Because the voice you listen to the most is your own. If your inner voice is negative, critical, and fearful, your mind will never be at peace. But if your inner voice is strong, calm, and intentional, your mind will become your greatest ally. So every day you must remind yourself, I am in control of my thoughts. I am in control of my reactions. I choose peace over chaos. I choose calm over stress. I choose to remain unbothered by things that do not add value to my life. And at first, it will feel unnatural. Your old habits will try to pull you back. You will feel the urge to react, to argue, to overthink. But this is where discipline comes in. This is where growth happens. You don't become peaceful by accident. You become peaceful by practice. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes. The things that once disturbed you will no longer have power over you. The situations that once stressed you will no longer affect you the same way. You will notice a shift, a calmness, a clarity, a strength that was not there before. That is the result of a trained mind. And when you reach that point, you realize something profound. Peace was never something you had to find outside. It was something you had to build within. So train your mind. Protect your peace. Stay unbothered. Not because life is perfect, but because you have decided that your inner world will not be controlled by the outside world. Master your reactions, not your circumstances. That is where your true power lies. Because if you are honest with yourself, you will realize something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The world is unpredictable, people are inconsistent, and situations rarely unfold the way you expect them to. Yet, in the middle of all that uncertainty, there is one thing you have absolute authority over, and that is how you respond. Most people wake up every day and unknowingly surrender that authority. They allow moods, opinions, delays, and disappointments to dictate how they feel. Someone speaks harshly to them and their entire emotional state shifts. Something doesn't go according to plan and frustration takes over. A small inconvenience happens and suddenly the whole day feels ruined. Not because the situation was powerful, but because their reaction gave it power. You must understand this deeply. Life is not controlling you. Your reactions are. And reactions, if left untrained, are dangerous. They are impulsive, emotional, and often rooted in past experiences rather than present truth. A reaction is what happens when you don't pause. It is automatic. It is conditioned. It is your mind operating on old patterns, old fears, and old habits. But a response is different. A response is chosen. It is thoughtful. It is controlled. It is the result of awareness and discipline. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a space. Most people never notice that space because they move too fast. They go straight from stimulus to reaction. But when you begin to train your mind, you start to see that gap. And in that gap lies your freedom. Freedom from anger that destroys relationships. Freedom from stress that drains your energy. Freedom from emotional chaos that keeps you unstable. When you learn to pause, even for a moment, you take back control. You stop being a slave to your emotions and start becoming the master of them. Let me tell you something that may challenge you. Your emotions are real, but they are not always right. Just because you feel something strongly does not mean you should act on it immediately. Feelings are signals, not commands. And if you obey every emotional impulse, you will constantly find yourself in conflict, regret, and frustration. Think about how many times people have reacted in anger and later wished they had stayed silent. Think about how many times someone said something in the heat of the moment that damaged a relationship permanently. Think about how many opportunities were lost simply because someone could not control their reaction. That is not a lack of intelligence. That is a lack of discipline. And discipline is what transforms reaction into response. You must begin to train yourself to pause, not react, pause. When something happens that triggers you, resist the urge to respond immediately. Take a breath. Observe what you are feeling without letting it control you. Ask yourself, is this reaction going to help me or harm me? That single question can save you from countless mistakes. Because here is the truth. Every reaction has consequences. Some consequences are small, but others can change the course of your life. And often, it is not the situation that creates the problem, but your reaction to it. Someone criticizes you. You react defensively, and it turns into an argument. A delay happens. You react with frustration, and your energy is drained. Someone ignores you. You react emotionally, and your peace is disturbed. But what if you responded differently? Someone criticizes you. You listen calmly and decide what is useful and what is not. A delay happens. You stay patient and use the time productively. Someone ignores you. You remain unbothered because you know your value is not dependent on their attention. Same situations, different responses, completely different outcomes. That is the power of mastering your reactions. You see, when you react, you give control to the external world. When you respond, you keep control within yourself. And the goal is not to suppress your emotions, it is to govern them. There is a difference. Suppression means ignoring what you feel, but mastery means understanding it without being ruled by it. A calm mind is not a mind that feels nothing. It is a mind that feels everything but chooses what to act on. And this level of control does not come naturally. It must be developed because your mind has been trained for years to react instantly. Social media has conditioned you to respond quickly. Your environment has conditioned you to take things personally. Your past experiences have conditioned you to defend yourself even when it is not necessary. So now you must reverse that conditioning. You must slow down your mind. You must become aware of your triggers. What are the things that cause you to lose control? Is it criticism? Is it disrespect? Is it uncertainty? Once you identify your triggers, you can begin to prepare for them because triggers will always come, but your response can change. When you know something tends to disturb you, you can decide in advance how you will respond. That is power. That is intentional living. Instead of saying, I hope I don't get angry, you say, if this happens, I will remain calm. Instead of saying, I hope this doesn't affect me, you say, no matter what happens, I will protect my peace. Now you are not reacting, you are leading your mind. And leadership over your mind is what creates stability in your life. Because let's be honest, life will test you. There will be days when everything seems to go wrong. There will be people who misunderstand you. There will be moments when you feel pressure, frustration, and even anger rising inside you. But in those moments, you must remember who is in control. Not the situation, not the people. You. And control does not mean forcing the world to behave the way you want. Control means maintaining your composure regardless of what the world does. That is real strength. Anyone can stay calm when everything is going well, but it takes a trained mind to remain peaceful in the middle of chaos. It takes discipline to choose silence when you have the urge to argue. It takes maturity to walk away when your ego wants to prove a point. And this is where many people fail. They confuse reaction with strength. They think being loud, aggressive, or defensive means they are powerful. But true power is quiet. It is controlled. It is intentional. It is the ability to remain steady when everything around you is unstable. When you master your reactions, you become unpredictable to negativity. People expect you to react, but you don't. Situations try to disturb you, but they fail. Chaos tries to enter your mind, but it finds no place to stay. And that is when you become unbothered. Not because nothing happens, but because nothing controls you. And understand this clearly. Being unbothered does not mean you don't care. It means you care wisely. It means you choose what deserves your energy and what does not. It means you are not easily shaken by things that are temporary, meaningless, or out of your control. You become selective with your reactions. You stop reacting to every opinion. You stop reacting to every inconvenience. You stop reacting to every negative situation. And in doing so, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. Because energy is limited. And if you spend it reacting to everything, you will have nothing left for your growth, your goals, and your purpose. So you must decide, what is worth your reaction? Is it worth your peace? Is it worth your time? Is it worth your focus? If the answer is no, then let it go. Because not everything deserves a response. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Silence is not weakness. It is control. Calmness is not passivity. It is mastery. And when you begin to live this way, you will notice a shift in your life. You will feel lighter. You will feel clearer. You will feel more in control. Situations that once overwhelmed you will no longer have the same effect. You will start to move through life with a sense of calm confidence. And people will notice. They will wonder why you don't react the way others do. They will expect you to be disturbed, but you remain steady. They will expect you to engage in unnecessary conflict, but you choose peace. That is not luck. That is training. That is the result of a mind that has been disciplined to respond instead of react. So every day you must practice this. Not occasionally, not when it is easy, but consistently. Practice pausing before you speak. Practice thinking before you act. Practice staying calm under pressure. Practice letting go of what you cannot control. Because the more you practice, the stronger your mind becomes. And eventually, what once required effort will become natural. You will no longer have to force yourself to stay calm. It will be your default state. You will no longer struggle to control your reactions. You will simply choose your responses. And that is when you truly step into your power. Not when you control the world, but when you control yourself. Because at the end of the day, your peace is not determined by what happens to you. It is determined by how you respond to it. Guard your mind like your greatest asset, because whether you realize it or not, everything you become is shaped by what you allow to live inside your mind. Your thoughts are not just passing ideas. They are the blueprint of your behavior, your decisions, your emotions, and ultimately your destiny. If your mind is filled with noise, negativity, comparison, and fear, your life will reflect confusion, stress, insecurity, and instability. But if your mind is protected, disciplined, and intentional, your life begins to reflect clarity, confidence, and peace. Most people underestimate the importance of mental protection. They are careful with their money, careful with their possessions, careful with how they present themselves to the world, but careless with what they allow into their minds. They listen to anything, watch everything, engage in every conversation, and absorb every opinion without question. And then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed, anxious, distracted, and drained. You cannot feed your mind with chaos and expect to feel peace. Your mind is constantly consuming, whether you are aware of it or not. Every conversation you entertain, every piece of content you scroll through, every environment you step into, it all leaves an imprint. And those imprints accumulate over time, shaping the way you think and the way you see the world. If you spend hours consuming negativity, your mind will begin to expect negativity. If you surround yourself with people who complain, criticize, and gossip, your thoughts will begin to mirror that energy. If you constantly expose yourself to comparison, your mind will begin to question your own worth. This is why guarding your mind is not optional, it is necessary. You have to become intentional about your mental environment. Just like you would not allow anyone to walk into your home and destroy it, you should not allow anything to enter your mind and disrupt your peace. Because once something enters your mind, it does not leave easily. It lingers, it repeats, it influences. And many people are fighting battles in their minds that they unknowingly invited. They replay negative conversations over and over again. They dwell on criticism that should have been ignored. They carry opinions that were never meant to define them, all because they did not guard the entry point. You must understand that not everything deserves access to your mind. Access is a privilege, not a right. Just because something is available does not mean it is beneficial. Just because someone has an opinion does not mean it is valuable. Just because something is trending does not mean it is worth your attention. You have to filter what you allow in, and that requires awareness. You must start asking yourself, is this helping me or harming me? Ina paskota setchat inti in makin chatfat. Every time you consume something, whether it is a conversation, a video, a post, or an environment, evaluate its impact on your mind. If it drains you, disturbs you, or distracts you, then it is costing you more than you realize. Because your attention is powerful. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life begins to grow. If your attention is constantly pulled toward negativity, your energy will be drained. If your attention is focused on growth, learning, and positivity, your energy will be strengthened. This This is why you must become selective. Not everything deserves your time. Not everything deserves your focus. Not everything deserves your energy. And once you accept that, you begin to take control of your mental space. Guarding your mind also means being careful about the people you allow close to you. Because people are not just physical presences. They are emotional and mental influences. The people around you shape your thoughts more than you realize. If you are constantly around people who doubt, complain, and limit themselves, it will begin to affect you. Their mindset will slowly become your mindset. Their fears will become your fears. Their limitations will start to feel like your limitations. But when you surround yourself with people who are disciplined, positive, and growth-oriented, something different happens. You begin to think differently. You begin to see possibilities instead of problems. You begin to believe in your potential. This is why you must protect your circle. Not everyone deserves to be close to you. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your dreams, and your energy. And this is not about arrogance. It is about alignment. You cannot build a peaceful mind in a chaotic environment. So sometimes guarding your mind means creating distance. Distance from conversations that lead nowhere. Distance from environments that drain you. Distance from people who bring negativity into your life. And yes, that can be difficult because humans are naturally connected. We seek relationships, approval, and belonging. But you must realize that not all connections are healthy. Some connections cost you your peace, and your peace is too valuable to be sacrificed for temporary comfort. Guarding your mind also means being aware of your inner dialogue. Because even if you protect your mind from external negativity, you can still destroy your peace from within if your self-talk is negative. The voice inside your head is the most powerful voice you will ever hear. It speaks to you every day, shaping your beliefs, your confidence, and your perspective. If that voice is critical, doubtful, and harsh, it will create a restless and insecure mind. Many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to others. They criticize themselves for every mistake. They doubt their abilities. They focus on their weaknesses instead of their strengths. And then they wonder why they feel stuck. You cannot have a peaceful mind with a negative inner voice. So you must begin to guard not only what enters your mind, but also what comes from within it. You must start speaking to yourself with intention. When you make a mistake, instead of saying, I am not good enough, say, I am learning. When you face a challenge, instead of saying, I can't handle this, say, I will find a way. When you feel doubt, instead of feeding it, challenge it. Because your mind believes what you repeatedly tell it. And if you feed it strength, it will become strong. If you feed it fear, it will become fearful. Guarding your mind is not about being perfect. It is about being aware and intentional. There will be moments when negativity enters. There will be days when your thoughts are not aligned. That is part of being human. But the difference is you don't allow it to stay. You recognize it. You challenge it. You replace it. You don't let one negative thought turn into a negative mindset. And that is discipline. Because an undisciplined mind will accept anything. It will believe anything. It will react to everything. But a disciplined mind questions, filters, and chooses. It chooses peace over chaos. It chooses clarity over confusion. It chooses growth over stagnation. And this is a daily practice. Every day, you are either feeding your mind or starving it. You are either strengthening it or weakening it. There is no neutral. Every input has an effect. So you must become conscious of your daily habits. What do you listen to in the morning? What do you scroll through during the day? What kind of conversations do you engage in? What do you think about before you sleep? All of these things matter because they shape your mental state. If you start your day with negativity, your mind will carry that energy throughout the day. If you end your day with stress and overthinking, your mind will not rest properly. But when you begin to intentionally feed your mind with calm, clarity, and purpose, something changes. You start to feel more in control. You start to feel more focused. You start to feel more peaceful. And that peace becomes your foundation. You no longer depend on external circumstances to feel okay. You don't need everything to be perfect to feel calm, because your mind is no longer easily influenced by external noise. You have built a filter, and that filter protects you. It protects your energy from being drained unnecessarily. It It protects your focus from being scattered. It protects your emotions from being manipulated. And most importantly, it protects your peace. Because peace is not something you find. It is something you maintain. And you maintain it by guarding your mind. So every day, remind yourself, not everything deserves access to me. Not everything deserves my attention. Not everything deserves my energy. Be selective. Be intentional. Be disciplined. Because the quality of your life will always reflect the quality of your mind. And if you protect your mind like your greatest asset, it will reward you with something more valuable than anything external can offer. A deep, unshakable peace that no circumstance can take away. Detach from what you cannot control, because one of the greatest sources of stress, frustration, and inner disturbance in your life is not what is happening. It is your constant attempt to control what was never yours to control in the first place. This is where many people silently suffer. They hold on too tightly to outcomes, to people, to expectations, to timelines, and when life does not align with what they imagined, their peace collapses. You have to understand something clearly. Control is limited. Your power is real, but it is not unlimited. There are things within your influence, and there are things completely outside of it. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Peace is accepting it. Most people live as if they can control everything. They try to control how others think about them, how others behave, how situations unfold, how quickly results appear, how life responds to their plans. And when those things don't happen the way they expect, they feel anxious, irritated, and overwhelmed. But the truth is, you cannot control people's opinions. You cannot control other people's actions. You cannot control unexpected delays. You cannot control every outcome, no matter how much effort you put in. And the moment you try to control what is beyond your reach, you begin to lose control of what is within you. This is why detachment is not weakness, it is wisdom. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to force. It means you give your best effort, but you release the need to control the result. It means you engage fully, but you do not become emotionally dependent on how things turn out. Because when your peace is tied to outcomes, you will always be unstable. If things go your way, you feel good. If things don't, you feel frustrated. That is not peace, that is dependency. True peace comes when you learn to remain steady regardless of the outcome. And this is not easy because your mind naturally seeks certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants assurance. It wants everything to go according to plan. But life does not operate on your expectations. Life is dynamic, unpredictable, and sometimes uncomfortable. So instead of trying to control life, you must learn to navigate it. You must shift your focus from controlling outcomes to controlling your effort and your mindset. Focus on what you can do. Focus on how you respond. Focus on how you show up, and let go of the rest. Because holding on to what you cannot control creates tension in your mind. It creates overthinking. It creates anxiety. It keeps you mentally trapped in situations that you cannot change. Think about how often people replay situations in their minds, trying to change something that has already happened. They think, I should have said this, or I could have done that differently. They carry regret, frustration, and guilt over things that are already in the past. But no amount of thinking can change what has already happened. So why hold on? Because the mind resists letting go. It wants to fix, to correct, to control, even when it is too late. But holding on to the past only steals your present peace. Detachment means accepting what has happened and choosing to move forward without carrying unnecessary emotional weight. It means saying, it is what it is, and I will not let it disturb my peace any longer. And this applies not only to the past, but also to people. One of the hardest things for people to accept is that you cannot control how others behave. You cannot make someone understand you if they are not willing to. You cannot force someone to value you if they don't. You cannot change someone who does not want to change. Yet many people exhaust themselves trying. They try to explain themselves over and over again. They try to fix relationships that are one-sided. They try to gain approval from people who are committed to misunderstanding them. And in the process, they lose their peace. Detachment teaches you to step back. It teaches you to recognize when effort is no longer productive. It teaches you to stop chasing what is not aligned with you. It teaches you to accept people as they are without trying to force them into who you want them to be. And that acceptance is powerful, because the moment you stop trying to control others, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional burden. You no longer take everything personally. You no longer feel responsible for other people's actions. You no longer depend on others for your sense of peace. You become independent in your emotional state, and that independence is what allows you to stay unbothered. Another area where detachment is necessary is expectations. Expectations are often the silent creators of disappointment. You expect things to happen in a certain way, within a certain time, according to a certain plan. And when reality does not match those expectations, frustration arises. But expectations are not guarantees. You can plan, you can prepare, you can work hard, but you cannot control the timing of everything. Some things take longer than you want. Some things happen differently than you expected. Some things don't happen at all, and that is part of life. So, instead of becoming attached to a specific outcome, you must become committed to the process. Focus on what you are building. Focus on what you are learning. Focus on how you are growing, and allow life to unfold without forcing it to match your exact vision. Because sometimes what you think you want is not what you actually need. And life has a way of redirecting you. Detachment allows you to trust that process. It allows you to move forward without constant resistance. It allows you to accept delays without frustration. It allows you to adapt without losing your peace. And when you develop this mindset, something changes within you. You become calmer. You stop overthinking every situation. You stop stressing over things that are out of your hands. You stop trying to control every detail of your life, and instead you focus on what truly matters. Your actions, your mindset, your growth, because those are the things you actually control. Detachment also protects your energy. Every time you worry about something you cannot control, you are wasting energy. Every time you stress over an outcome that has not happened yet, you are draining yourself unnecessarily. And energy is valuable. You need it to think clearly. You need it to stay focused. You need it to move forward in your life. So why waste it on things that are beyond your reach? Detachment allows you to conserve that energy. It allows you to redirect your focus toward what is productive instead of what is draining. And that is how you maintain peace. Because peace is not just about being calm, it is about being clear. It is about knowing where to invest your energy and where to withdraw it. Not every situation deserves your mental investment. Some things are simply not worth your attention. And once you accept that, you begin to feel lighter. You begin to feel free. Free from the pressure of trying to control everything. Free from the weight of unnecessary expectations. Free from the emotional attachment to things that do not serve you. And that freedom creates peace. But detachment requires discipline, because your mind will constantly try to pull you back into control. It will make you overthink. It will make you worry. It will make you feel like you need to fix everything. And in those moments, you must remind yourself, if it is out of my control, it is not worth my peace. That statement alone can change the way you experience life. Because instead of resisting reality, you accept it. Instead of fighting what you cannot change, you adapt to it. Instead of holding on, you let go. And letting go is not losing. It is gaining control over yourself. It is choosing peace over chaos. It is choosing clarity over confusion. It is choosing freedom over emotional attachment. And when you live this way, you become unshaken. Things will still happen. Challenges will still come. People will still behave in ways you don't expect. But none of it will have the same power over you, because you are no longer attached to controlling it. You are focused on mastering yourself. And that is where true peace is found. Practice inner discipline daily, because peace is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is something you build, protect, and reinforce every single day through intentional choices. Many people want a calm mind, a stable emotional state, and a life that feels balanced, but they underestimate what it takes to maintain that state. They think peace will come when life becomes easier, when problems disappear, or when everything finally goes their way. But that is an illusion. Life does not become less demanding. You become more disciplined. Inner discipline is the ability to guide your thoughts, control your emotions, and direct your actions regardless of what you feel in the moment. It is the decision to choose what is right over what is easy, what is calm over what is chaotic, what is productive over what is comfortable. And that decision is not made once. It is made repeatedly, daily, sometimes even moment by moment. Because every day you are faced with choices. You can wake up and immediately reach for your phone, flooding your mind with noise, comparison, and distraction. Or you can choose stillness, clarity, and intention. You can react emotionally to situations that irritate you, or you can pause and respond with calmness. You can overthink every problem, or you can focus on what you can actually control. These choices may seem small, but over time they shape your mental state. Discipline is built in the small moments, not the big ones. It is built when you resist the urge to engage in unnecessary arguments. It is built when you choose to stay silent instead of proving a point. It is built when you redirect your thoughts instead of letting them spiral into negativity. It is built when you let go of what you cannot control instead of obsessing over it. And the truth is, your mind will not naturally choose discipline. It will choose comfort. It will choose habit. It will choose what it is used to. If your mind is used to reacting quickly, it will push you to react again. If your mind is used to overthinking, it will try to pull you into another cycle of worry. If your mind is used to negativity, it will default to negative interpretations. That is why discipline is necessary. Because without discipline, your mind will control you. With discipline, you control your mind. Inner discipline starts with awareness. You cannot change what you are not aware of. You have to begin noticing your patterns. Notice how you react when things don't go your way. Notice what triggers your stress. Notice how your thoughts move when you are under pressure. Not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Because once you understand your patterns, you can begin to interrupt them. When you feel anger rising, you recognize it before it takes over. When you notice overthinking starting, you stop it before it spirals. When you catch yourself seeking validation, you redirect your focus inward. That is discipline in action. And at first, it will feel uncomfortable because you are going against your conditioning. You are breaking patterns that have been reinforced over time. Your mind will resist. It will try to pull you back into old habits. But that is where consistency comes in. You don't practice discipline only when you feel like it. You practice it especially when you don't. Because feelings are temporary, but discipline creates permanence. There will be days when you feel calm and focused, and discipline will feel easy. But there will also be days when you feel frustrated, tired, or overwhelmed. And those are the days that matter the most. Those are the days when your choices define you. When you feel like reacting, but you choose to pause, that is discipline. When you feel like overthinking, but you choose to let go, that is discipline. When you feel like giving into negativity, but you choose a different thought, that is discipline. And every time you make those choices, you are strengthening your mind. You are training it. You are teaching it that it does not have to follow every impulse, every emotion, every thought. You are building control, and control leads to peace. Because a disciplined mind is a stable mind. It is not easily shaken. It is not easily disturbed and transubur. It does not react to every situation. It does not get lost in every thought. It observes, it chooses, and it acts intentionally. That is the foundation of being unbothered. But let's be clear, inner discipline is not about becoming emotionless. It is not about suppressing what you feel or pretending that things don't affect you. It is about feeling everything without losing control. You can feel anger without acting on it. You can feel stress without letting it consume you. You can feel disappointment without letting it define your state. That is emotional maturity. And emotional maturity comes from discipline, because discipline creates a gap between feeling and action. It allows you to experience emotions without being driven by them. It gives you the power to decide how you will respond rather than reacting automatically. And that power changes everything. It changes how you handle conflict. conflict. It changes how you deal with pressure. It changes how you navigate challenges. Instead of being controlled by external events, you remain centered. And that centered state is what allows you to maintain peace consistently. Inner discipline also requires structure. You cannot expect a peaceful mind if your daily habits are chaotic. If you constantly expose yourself to stress, distraction, and negativity, your mind will reflect that. So discipline is not just about controlling reactions. It is also about creating habits that support your mental state. It is about what you do daily. Do you give your mind time to rest, or is it constantly overstimulated? Do you feed your mind with clarity, or do you overload it with noise? Do you create moments of stillness, or are you always rushing? These things matter because your mind needs space to function properly. It needs moments of silence, reflection, and calm. Without that, it becomes cluttered, reactive, and overwhelmed. So part of inner discipline is creating those moments intentionally. Moments where you disconnect from distractions. Moments where you sit with your thoughts. Moments where you reset your mind. And in those moments, you regain control. You step out of the noise and reconnect with yourself. Because the more connected you are to yourself, the less influenced you are by external chaos. And that is what allows you to stay peaceful. Inner discipline also means holding yourself accountable, not blaming others for how you feel, not blaming situations for your reactions, taking responsibility for your inner state. Because at the end of the day, no one else is responsible for your peace. People can influence you, situations can affect you, but how you manage your mind, that is your responsibility. And when you accept that responsibility, you stop feeling like a victim of circumstances. You stop saying, this made me feel this way, and you start saying, I allowed this to affect me and I can choose differently. And Ibdu Hafa and the Haman. That shift is powerful because it puts you back in control. And control is what creates stability. Without discipline, your mind is unstable. It moves with every situation, every opinion, every emotion. But with discipline, your mind becomes steady. It remains grounded regardless of what is happening around you. And that steadiness is what people call peace. Not temporary calm, but consistent stability. Not a moment of silence, but a way of living. And that way of living is built daily through small choices, through repeated actions, through consistent awareness. So every day you must ask yourself, am I training my mind or am I letting it run freely? Because an untrained mind will always drift toward chaos. It will follow impulses, react emotionally, and get lost in unnecessary thoughts. But a trained mind will stay focused. It will remain calm. It will choose peace even when it is difficult. And that is the goal. Not perfection, but progress. Not complete control overnight, but gradual improvement over time. Because the more you practice discipline, the stronger your mind becomes. And the stronger your mind becomes, the less you are disturbed by external things. You become less reactive, less stressed, less affected by negativity, and more in control, more focused, more peaceful. That is the result of inner discipline. So don't wait for peace to come to you. Build it every day through your thoughts, but through your choices, through your actions. Because peace is not something you find at the end of the journey. It is something you create along the way.